Welcome, everyone. I'm Justin Paperny with White Collar Advice, back with my colleague, criminal defense attorney Diane Bass. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Justin.
Diane, I was in a good mood this morning, and I got put into a bad mood when a defendant called to tell me that he had given a couple $100,000 to a lawyer. Nothing wrong with the $200,000 that the lawyer is delivering. What's frustrating me is the lawyer said, "Oh no, you got like the toughest judge ever. Had it been a different judge, we could have gotten this outcome. I'm sorry." And it's sort of like, well, can I get the money back? I could have maybe gone with a different, less expensive lawyer if our work in the end doesn't do anything because I have a really tough judge. And this defendant was like just heartbroken. Like, I don't care about the money. I care that I have a judge who's going to punish me. So we don't have to get into specific judges' names, though I was told I had Judge Wilson, a tough sentencing judge. Offer some insights. Why do some people say, oh, you got a really tough judge, there's nothing I can do? And I'd like you to debunk that a little bit, please, because it was a very frustrating phone call.
There are really tough judges. That's absolutely for sure. And some of them are very unpredictable. And I've recently been in front of one of those judges. There are about 3 of them in the Central District of California that are known to be super tough. There's one in Santa Ana that's known to be tough, but he's not anything like the people I'm talking about in LA. And I recently had a very bad experience with one of these judges in LA. And then the other day had an unpleasant experience with the judge, but he did depart downward for my client. And it was actually because of something that the government said, in spite of the fact that he went below the government's recommendation. So you never know. There is no room for giving up on a client, no matter who the judge is. That's the bottom line.
The reason it frustrated me is because we want to teach defendants to ask the right questions and to follow up appropriately with their lawyer. So I didn't know any better. When I learned that I had Judge Wilson, my lawyer said, well, that's a very tough judge. And it was kind of left at that. It didn't stop me from mitigating. But in some cases, when defendants hear, oh my goodness, I have a really tough judge, there's nothing that I can do, they actually do nothing. In my experience, if you have a really tough judge, you really got to put the pedal to the metal to show why you're worthy of leniency. So talk about that, I guess, perspective. And when people hear they have a tough judge, they do nothing, and the power of mitigation, I suppose.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like I said, there's no room for giving up. If you find that you have a really tough judge, you're going to work even harder to show this judge why he should depart downward and give you a lower sentence. And for instance, Judge Wilson, he's mean, but he's really smart. He's one of our smartest judges. So if you put evidence in front of him of mitigation, of, say, restitution, of a very difficult background, of efforts that he's made since the offense, he or she has made since the offense was committed, all of the steps that you've taken, the judge has to look at those things. So to go into court and present nothing to a horrible judge is going to make that judge even worse. It's going to make that judge even meaner. However, if you do take steps, like for instance, in the case, the sentencing I just had in front of this very tough judge in LA, my client was able to return the $5 million that he took fraudulently. And the judge was very impressed with that. And he actually came out and he said, I have not made a decision yet. I want to hear from you, he said to my client. And I had prepared my client to allocute, to speak to the judge and speak from his heart and to really show his remorse and tell the judge how he knew that he'd impacted the victims and what he's going to do differently in the future. And the judge listened to him. I mean, there was nothing that I could say that day. The judge really didn't want to hear from me. In fact, he actually said, I take everything your lawyer says with a grain of salt because she's advocating for you, which was stunning. But anyway, he wanted to hear from my client. And the U.S. attorney added to the fact that my client had made extraordinary efforts to assist the government in recovering the money. And the judge said, that's the most important thing I've heard all day. Are you sure, Mr. Prosecutor, that you don't want to reduce your recommendation? And the prosecutor said, no, because it is a serious offense, but the judge did go below the U.S. attorney's recommendation. And I was shocked. I was very happy because in my previous sentencing with this judge, he went above the guidelines. He maxed my client out for whatever wacky reasons he had in his mind. But again, the most important thing you can do in any case is prepare for sentencing. And preparing for sentencing means starting with mitigation from day one. The day you hire your lawyer, you want to start working on it. Ask your lawyer what you can do. My clients ask me this all the time. What else can I do? What else can I do? And I give them the list of things that they should do, including prepare a narrative with your help if they can afford to hire you guys, and just restitution, community service, character letters. Character letters have to acknowledge, though, that the people writing the letters know about your offense, not just, I think so-and-so would be a great employee. Those letters judges disregard.
So a couple of final thoughts as we wrap up this video. Even if you are told you have a very difficult sentencing judge, as we expressed, you have to double down and work even harder, unfortunately. But also, I would bet that even the toughest judges have departed at some point in their future. I know the government asked for 2 years for me. I was told you have the toughest judge in Judge Wilson. Didn't say the nicest things to me, was a little bit mean at my sentencing, but he gave me 18 months, less than what the government wanted. So confirm for everyone watching, if someone is told they have a very tough judge, wouldn't you bet that that judge at some point in their esteemed career has downward departed at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. And I think that the purpose for telling a client that they have a really tough judge,
hedge their bets a little bit.
well, just to kind of hamper their expectations, because people come to me all the time, say, can I get home confinement? Can I get probation? In many cases, that's just not realistic. And I don't want them to have false hope and then be mad at me when they get the sentence that is actually reasonable for their case. So, I mean, of course, I would give everybody home confinement and probation if I could, but it's not up to me. So I think that it's just about managing expectations. But at the end of the day, yes, of course, judges downward depart, just like Judge Wilson did with you, just like this judge did for my client last week. It definitely happens.
To close, I'm okay with lawyers saying you have a very tough judge. I'm sorry. Statistics show he doesn't go lower, he may go higher. I'm all about transparency. What I didn't love was the implication like, hey, there's not a whole lot that we can do here. I'm sorry. And that's when the defendant felt a little bit helped. The delivery, the messaging created a lot of concern. And that was the frustrating, part about it, I suppose. And
you need to have that guy call me.
Yes, we encourage people to call you. In fact, in the next video, I want to talk a little bit about why people should call any lawyer. With that said, to close, if you get a really tough lawyer, I'm sorry, really tough judge and lawyer, I'm sorry too. You get a really tough judge, don't give up, work even harder. And we think that work is going to pay off. So thank you for contributing, Diane.
Thanks, Justin.
Okay.